almost a trillion, and county governments have been given 924 billion. The county governments, national government remained with 862 billion. So at least there's a bit of progress going on there, and we know where those successes are, which of course we still indicate that health is fully devolved. So let us ensure that health is fully devolved, so that all these 48% of the resources that national government is still holding. And I saw my good friend Dr. Oluga here, though he rushed right behind Mheshimiwa Raila Amolo Odinga. I wanted to ask him the successes that, and then finally is on transport, and we've talked about roads.
Yeah.
And if you look at the money, is 310 billion against what national government has given to counties, which is 12%, which means that 88% of that money is still being held by the national government. So we are making good progress, but many steps again.
Right. And now that the situation is like that, we're hearing some very interesting proposals. Now you mentioned the former Prime Minister.
Yeah.
Yesterday made a very interesting proposal that education should be also a devolved function beyond the ECDs, primary, secondary level, all the way to the secondary level, that it should be devolved. With the kind of challenges we've seen, are we getting excited? I know the former Prime Minister is one of the greatest supporters of devolution. Yeah. But do you feel that probably we are there yet? That we could also ask for education to be devolved?
No. Just as has been said by my friend, and you also correctly said it, we are 12 years into growth. And therefore there are certain things that we are still trying to develop, and there are certain things that we are now improving on. And devolution, just as we mentioned before, was a new concept that was introduced by the promulgation of the new Constitution 2010. And therefore it is something that is now on the right trajectory, because we are pursuing its full actualization. And as a matter of fact, and with things that I've been able to see, case study of Homa Bay County, there are good things that have been done, but the challenges that we have also seen. And these challenges majorly, and so that I think has talked about them, majorly has been occasioned by the delay in disbursement by the national government, and the release of attendant monies and legislation towards the functions that are supposed to be done by the county government, that are supposed now to be decentralized from the national government to the county government. It's like the national government and the county government are engaged in a push and pull kind of a thing, because they're saying we have given you this function, well, it is just documented. It is just documented with no actualization of that function. Secondly, it is theoretical, without being said on platforms, in conferences such as this, but no money is attendant to it, so that it can be actualized. We've seen very good things with the devolution, and I tried to elaborate things to do with the ECDs that we've been having, and that has been mandated by the Constitution of Kenya 2010 to enable us do things to do with ECD and primary education. But to this extent, devolving education is a good thing to me. But unless attendant legislation and resources are also channeled to it, it will be something that will be, it will not be practical.
It's a bit too soon to
exactly, a bit too soon to talk about. And this issue of education, I think, to digress a bit, is a challenge that has encompassed the entire country. When you go to the primary schools, when you go to the secondary schools, and even in counties, we are not supposed to do. Last time there was some back and push about the bursary that is supposed to be given by the county government to secondary schools, and it was said that this is a reserve of the national government, and there's no way that the counties are supposed to come on board for this purpose. You saw there was a lot of tension between the Council of Governors and the national government, until there was a certain meeting to try and come to an agreement about this. But to digress a bit, I think for issues to do with education, it is something that we can do as we try to monitor the actualization of the concept of devolution. But for now, my personal view, it is something that should be worked on by the national government. And to do with bursaries, I've also been of an opinion that has been shared by some of our colleagues even in the national government and even in the Senate. We've been providing bursaries as a county government. We have presidential bursary. we have bursary that is being provided by the Office of the Women Representative. And I think a lot of government offices that are involved in provision of this bursary, these bursaries can be collapsed into one. It is an idea that has been shared by some other colleagues of mine, and I also share the same opinion. They can be collapsed from the county, the women rep, and all those offices, so that they're centralized at the government, and the government should operate them or should send them directly for capitation to schools, so that even the road towards the free education can be actualized. But to the extent that the bursary is given by the county, by the Office of the Women Rep, it also brings duplicity, because you find some student in the village, he or she has received bursary from the Women Rep, he or she has been lucky to receive bursary from the county government, he or she has been lucky to receive presidential bursary at the expense of others. Maybe the others that haven't received even from one quarter, but the others that have received from the 3 or plus quarters that are available. So that can also be checked by the national government, so that it is something that there is a smooth flow of capitation towards school, so that there is that collapse of duplicity. And I find that that duplicity, it bars or hinders the real actualization of that core mandate of the counties and even the national government.
Yeah, and beyond it being just a potentially populist pronouncement by the former Prime Minister, do you feel that it holds some water right now? Or is it, as Viken said, a conversation we should have probably 10 years from now?
You know, Fred, that you already described devolution as a little child that is just about to get into adolescence, right?
Yeah.
Of puberty stage. And you imagine the amount of parental care, therefore, that particular child needs. The amount of conversations, the amount of just prepping, so that by the time I engage into teenhood or teenage, he or she is very clear. I'm a father of 3 girls, and I have a 12-year-old daughter. That means that she is probably the size of devolution in Kenya. But if I imagine the kind of support, the kind of conversations that my wife and I have to always keep talking about, you know, any small thing, umefika hapo, any small thing. Now, I am saying that to liken that with the proposition or the proposal to fully devolve education. And in my view, I buy into that kind of a proposal, especially given the kind of challenges that we have had with education in the current context, as Kenyans say, vitu kwa ground, as they are. And so that the biggest conversations that we have had here are in my view, 3, which include funding of education, both at national and county level. Number 3 is Teachers Service Commission roles and responsibilities, so hiring the general recruitment infrastructure for teachers. And then number 3 is now the school management, the details of what goes on in a school. And if you look at our constitution, there are aspects that are fully devolved. For example, ECD or early childhood education, development education, pre-primary issues. We have concerns or interests with youth polytechnics.
Yeah.
You talk about the homecraft centers, among others. Now, those are like the foundational mechanisms for a child who is about to get a puberty, who is about to get into teenage. And so we've already described the kind of support and management that this requires. If you go to national government, the functions that are given there are largely primary, secondary, tertiary, also including of course, Teacher Service Commission responsibilities as a constitutional commission, and also TVETs, the Technical Vocational Training Centers. But in all these comparisons, Fred, the biggest discussion here and the worst disappointment have been 2. That one is on recruitment, where a few weeks to months ago, we even heard of complaints by some teachers that, members or politicians are recruiting in public rallies and funerals, etc. Why is that happening? And then you juxtapose that with the politics, like what we see. So the politics of recruiting a teacher, how will that feel when a governor is there, an MP seated there, and then the women rep who says, but bursary ni yangu. So you recruit, may I have my ECD people, but how will they be financed? Now, that's a big conversation. On the other hand, you also have discussions around preparing these children. And we have seen, for example, even county governments who are innovating their bursaries. So as is rightfully said, you have a bursary from almost all the 6 political offices that we use to elect our leaders. Now, why I think, therefore, that the proposal by the former Prime Minister is ripe and real, in my view, is so that even as Vikin says that, yes, we can have this discussion 10 years in time, but how about now? Because we're already experiencing challenges. And these are not new challenges. They're challenges for which even conversations have taken place, friend, up to the national level, where we have held conversations on what is called a National Conference on Education in Kenya. What does that mean for governors to sit there with the CS for education? And then when the budget comes, because for budget 2025-2026, education was the biggest winner at almost over 720 billion. What does that mean to the resources that are therefore taken to counties? And we all know that what goes to counties is a global budget, because it's not like national government where they say education 720, health maybe this, water, like that. For counties, you are given a blanket budget. So it is for you to sit with your people to decide which one goes where, and then you play innovatively into that. So if we are going to ensure that education as a foundation for socioeconomic development, for people, for prosperity, as is the theme of this particular conference, then a very elaborate conversation needs to go into what do we need to fully devolve education. And beyond that is also